One evening, as the last light of the day faded, Jennifer stood alone in the partially renovated Tyringham Clinic. The walls, stripped to their bones, exposed raw wood beams, and the air was thick with the smell of fresh paint and sawdust. Her hand grazed the edge of a new countertop, and she imagined the bustling future. Children laughing, families finding solace, and neighbors reconnecting. Footsteps broke the silence behind her. Jennifer turned, her heart lifting at the sight of Nicholas walking in. He was dressed casually, his usual commanding presence softened by the informal surroundings. "I thought I'd check in and see how things are going," he said, his eyes scanning the space with quiet admiration. "There's only space." "It's a work in progress," Jennifer replied, gesturing toward the unfinished walls. "But it's getting there." Nicholas stepped closer, his gaze softening as he took in the transformation. "What you've done here is remarkable, Jennifer. I hope you realize that." She met his eyes, her voice thoughtful. "It's not just about the clinic," she said, her words imbued with emotion. "It's about proving that change is possible, even in places like Tyringham." Nicholas's voice was steady, filled with admiration, "And you've done it, not just for Tyringham, but for everyone who's been a part of this." Jennifer felt a flush rise to her cheeks, pride swelling in her chest. "I couldn't have done it without your support," she admitted. Nicholas smiled, but there was a hint of modesty in his tone. "You give me too much credit. This was your vision, Jennifer. I just helped you bring it to life." For a long moment they stood together in silence. The weight of their journey was still present, but in that space it felt lighter. There was a quiet triumph in the air. As Nicholas prepared to leave, his expression softened. "When this clinic opens, it's going to change lives. And it's all because of you. You trained people. You were passionate. You inspired. And the very fact that you came back for the second part of your training really made me proud of you." Jennifer watched him leave, her heart full. She had spent so many years questioning whether she could truly make a difference. Now, she had her answer. The clinic was no longer just a building. It had become a beacon of resilience, a symbol of hope for a town weathered by hardship. That evening, Jennifer sat by her window, gazing out at the quiet streets of Tyringham. The journey had been long, challenging, and transformative. She had unearthed strength she hadn't known she possessed, and found a purpose far greater than she had ever imagined. The day of the grand opening of the Tyringham Clinic arrived, with a burst of brilliance, mirroring the joy that radiated through the town. The crisp morning air carried the fresh scent of soil from the newly planted flower beds surrounding the building, now transformed into a welcoming haven of light and warmth. Jennifer stood near the entrance, adjusting the ribbon that adorned the double doors. Her hands trembled from a mix of excitement and nerves. The town square was alive with activity. Families, elderly couples, and teenagers gathered in eager anticipation, their faces glowing with pride. Tyringham's mayor, Nora Lambert, approached Jennifer with a broad, warm smile. "This is a good day for Tyringham," she said, her voice full of appreciation, "and we have you to thank for it." Jennifer shook her head, a modest smile gracing her lips. "It wasn't just me," she said, her heart full of gratitude for all those who had made the dream possible. The weeks that followed the completion of the Tyringham Clinic were a whirlwind of emotions. There were moments of doubt, but there was also a deep sense of pride in everything they had accomplished together. The restoration had begun as an idea, but now it stood as a symbol of hope, resilience, and the community's collective strength. Jennifer was standing at the entrance of the clinic, her clipboard firmly in hand, watching the work crews begin their tasks. The old building, though worn and faded, held memories of better days. Today it was filled with the energy of a new beginning. Trucks arrived, unloading materials, tools, and equipment, bringing Jennifer's vision to life, piece by piece. A voice broke through the flurry of activity, warm and familiar. "Jennifer, there you are!" She turned to see Mrs. Katie, her former landlord, bundled up against the chill, carrying a tray of homemade cookies. The sight of the elderly woman, offering her support in such a simple yet meaningful way, made Jennifer's throat tighten. "I thought the workers might appreciate a treat," Mrs. Katie said with a smile. "And I figured you could use a little encouragement too." Jennifer's heart swelled as she took the plate. "You didn't have to," she said, the weight of the gesture almost overwhelming. "Nonsense," Mrs. Katie replied, shaking her head. "This clinic means as much to us as it does to you. It's time Terringham had something to be proud of again." The words hit Jennifer with a deep sense of responsibility. She had always known how important the clinic was, but hearing it from someone who had weathered the town's struggles gave her a renewed sense of purpose. "Thank you," Jennifer said, her voice thick with emotion. "I won't let you down." As the restoration continued, Jennifer worked closely with local leaders, including Mayor Nora Lambert, who became a trusted ally. They collaborated to secure additional funding, ensuring that the clinic would meet the community's needs. "This isn't just about health care," Mayor Lambert said one afternoon as they reviewed the budget. "It's about reminding the people of Terringham that this town is worth investing in. You've given us something to believe in again." Mayor Lambert used the words, "investing in a town." Jennifer nodded, but the weight of those words stayed with her. The responsibility was immense, and yet it was clear that the clinic was more than just a building. It was a testament to the power of a community coming together. Her community had lost a loved one, and this gave her meaning too. With each passing day, new challenges emerged. The scale of the project required more time, more money, and more effort than Jennifer had anticipated. Equipment delays and unforeseen repairs stretched the budget, but she met every obstacle head-on, never wavering. One evening, as she sat reviewing the financial reports, Nicholas entered the room. His familiar presence, calm and steady, immediately brought a sense of comfort. "Still working?" he asked with a small smile, leaning against the doorframe. Jennifer looked up, her exhaustion evident. "There's always more to do." Nicholas stepped closer, his expression thoughtful. "You're doing more than enough. Terringham is lucky to have you." His words were simple, but they gave Jennifer the reassurance she needed. The journey had been long and difficult, but with the unwavering support of Nicholas and the community, she was ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. Together, they were building something lasting. As the day unfolded, Jennifer found herself immersed in heartfelt conversations with the many individuals whose lives would be touched by the clinic. Mrs. Katie introduced her to a young mother who had struggled to afford health care for her children, and the mayor pointed out an elderly man who had played a pivotal role in the clinic's restoration. Everywhere Jennifer looked, she saw faces that carried stories of hardship, but also of hope. This place, which had once only existed in her dreams, was now a tangible reality, and it was already making a difference. As the crowd began to disperse, Jennifer slipped outside for a quiet moment of reflection. The fading sun cast a warm golden hue over the square, and she leaned against the railing of the clinic steps, feeling both grounded and deeply content. A few moments later, Nicholas approached, his presence always a steadying force. "You should be proud of yourself," he said, his voice calm but filled with unspoken admiration. "This clinic is more than just a building. It's a testament to who you are." Jennifer turned to face him, her expression thoughtful. "I think it's a testament to what we all can be," she replied. "When we come together, when we believe in something greater than ourselves, in the spirit of collective, anxious, hopeful self-esteem, We become greater than our individual fears. Nicholas paused for a moment, his gaze growing distant, as if contemplating the weight of her words. He then turned back to her. "So what's next for you, Jennifer?" he asked softly. Jennifer took a deep breath, the question lingering in the cool evening air. "I don't know," she admitted. "But for now, I just want to focus on making sure this clinic thrives, on making it the best it can be." Nicholas smiled, a rare softness in his features. "I think you've already done that." As evening settled in and the lights from inside the clinic began to glow warmly against the night, Jennifer remained on the steps, quietly watching. The day had been a celebration of the past, a recognition of the present, and a promise for the future. For the first time in years, Jennifer allowed herself to simply be present in the moment, basking in the quiet triumph of a dream fulfilled. Several months had passed since the clinic opened its doors, and the change in Tyringham was undeniable. The town, once quiet and stagnant, now thrived with activity. The businesses lining Main Street flourished, driven by the influx of visitors. The Tyringham Clinic had become a cornerstone of the community, providing not just health care, but a renewed sense of hope and connection. Jennifer sat in her modest office, going over the latest patient outreach report. The numbers were impressive. More families were accessing services than she had expected, and the community's response had been overwhelmingly positive. But even in her satisfaction, there was a thought that lingered, an unease she couldn't quite shake. The knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. She looked up to find Nora Lambert, the mayor, stepping inside with a warm smile. "Still as busy as ever, I see," Nora said, settling into the chair opposite Jennifer. "There's always something to do," Jennifer replied, putting the report aside. "But honestly, I wouldn't want it any other way." Nora smiled, but her expression turned contemplative. "You've done something extraordinary here, Jennifer. This clinic has brought a renewed sense of pride to Tyringham. People are talking about the future in a way they haven't in years." Jennifer smiled, but her mind drifted back to the early days of the project, to the relentless hurdles that had been overcome. "It's been a team effort," she said, "and I'm so grateful to everyone who helped make it happen." Nora leaned forward slightly, her curiosity piqued. "Speaking of support," she said, "I heard that Nicholas Hunter has been quietly involved in preserving the land around the town. Do you know anything about that?" Jennifer's brow furrowed. "No, I didn't. What do you mean?" Nora handed Jennifer a letter, its official appearance sending a ripple of surprise through her. "I got this earlier today. It seems Nicholas has purchased the development rights to several plots of land near Tyringham. Rather than letting them be developed into commercial properties, he's decided to preserve them." Jennifer held the letter in her hands, a rush of emotions flooding her, gratitude, curiosity, and something deeper that she couldn't quite put into words. Why would he do that? Nora's smile was knowing, and she gave a small shrug. "I think you know the answer to that better than anyone." After Nora left, Jennifer sat alone with the letter, her thoughts racing. She hadn't spoken to Nicholas much since the clinic opened, each of them occupied with their own work. But this gesture, quiet, selfless, and deeply personal, felt like an unspoken support for her dream. It was as though he had been behind her every step of the way, even when she hadn't noticed. Her heart fluttered as the realization settled in. This was more than just the preservation of land. It was a quiet act of love, of understanding, and of faith in the vision they had both shared. The morning sun had barely risen when Jennifer found herself reaching for her phone, her finger hovering over Nicholas's number. She paused for a moment, uncertainty flooding her mind. What exactly did she want to say? When the phone clicked on, Nicholas's familiar voice greeted her, warm and reassuring, cutting through the fog of doubt. "Jennifer," he said, "it's good to hear from you." "Hi, Nicholas," she replied, her voice softer than she meant it to be. "I just heard about the land preservation near Tyringham. I wanted to thank you." A brief silence followed. Then his voice came through, humble and unassuming. "It wasn't something I needed thanks for," Nicholas said. "It just felt like the right thing to do."
Right.
"But it means everything to us," Jennifer responded, her words sincere. "Not just to me, but to the entire town. You didn't have to do that." "I know," he answered simply. "But Tyringham is special, and so are the people here." Jennifer's heart tightened as she listened, moved by the depth of his care, not just for her, but for the entire community. "Thank you," she said, her voice quiet with emotion, "for everything." After the call ended, Jennifer sat back in her office, the weight of Nicholas's gesture settling in. It wasn't just about the land. It was about understanding, about recognizing what Tyringham and she herself meant, and taking action without expecting anything in return. In the weeks that followed, the impact of his decision began to reveal itself. The land, now preserved, became a sanctuary for families, a haven for hiking trails, community gardens, and playgrounds. Children laughed and played, and the town spirit was undeniably revitalized. One crisp autumn afternoon, Jennifer found herself walking along one of the new trails. The sound of leaves crunching underfoot filled the air, the vibrant colors of the trees a beautiful contrast against the clear sky. The air was fresh, cool, and carried the subtle scent of pine and earth. She stopped at the top of a small hill, taking in the view of Tyringham below. From this vantage point, she could see the clinic, its windows gleaming in the sunlight, and the lively streets where the pulse of life had returned. In that moment, Jennifer thought of her mother, of the lessons she had taught her about perseverance, kindness, and the importance of always believing in something greater than herself. She thought of all the nights spent wondering if her dreams would ever be realized, unsure of where she truly belonged. And she thought of Nicholas, whose quiet actions had made everything possible, more powerful than words ever could. A soft smile tugged at Jennifer's lips as a profound sense of gratitude washed over her. The journey had been long and fraught with challenges, but it had led her here, to a place where dreams, compassion, and community had come together. As the breeze whispered through the trees, Jennifer heard footsteps behind her. She didn't need to turn around to know who it was. She smiled to herself as Nicholas drew closer, wearing a jacket against the chill, his hands tucked into his pockets, a faint smile softening his expression. She gave him a long look, and a few seconds later she returned her attention to the road. "I thought I might find you here," he said, his voice calm and steady. Jennifer nodded, her smile lingering. "It's a good place to think." Nicholas surveyed the town below, his gaze sweeping across the streets, now full of life and energy. "You've done something incredible here, Jennifer. Tyringham is thriving because of you." "It's not just me," she replied, her gaze following his. "It's the people, the community." "But you gave them something to believe in," he said, his voice steady, filled with admiration. "That's not something everyone can do." They stood in companionable silence for a moment, the autumn breeze rustling the leaves around them. Jennifer closed her eyes for a brief moment, allowing the peace of the scene to wash over her. She felt the weight of her journey balanced by the quiet satisfaction of all they had achieved. Months drifted by, and life in Tyringham found its steady pulse once again. The clinic, now thriving under Jennifer's leadership, had become a source of light for the community, a place of hope and healing for the people who called this town home. The land that had been preserved around Tyringham, with its scenic trails and gathering spaces, united families and neighbors in ways Jennifer had once only dreamed about. On a clear morning, Jennifer arrived at the clinic early, the first rays of sunlight casting a golden glow over the quiet town. She unlocked the door, the familiar creak of it welcoming her as she stepped inside. The polished floors beneath her feet seemed to hum with the anticipation of another busy day ahead. There was a calmness to her routine now, a quiet satisfaction that replaced the uncertainty she once carried. As she settled into her office, her thoughts were interrupted by a knock on the door. Grace, one of the volunteers, entered, holding an envelope in her hand. "This just came for you," Grace said, her voice tinged with curiosity. Jennifer took the envelope from her, recognizing the elegant script on the front. It had been a long while since she had seen that handwriting. She thanked Grace, waited for her to leave, and carefully opened the letter. Inside, Jennifer found a letter from Nicholas. The paper was thick and formal, yet the words it carried were deeply personal, a reflection of the relationship they had forged over the months. "Jennifer," the letter began, "I hope this note finds you in good health. I wanted to take a moment to inform you that my work in Terringham is officially complete. The land preservation project has been finalized, and the deeds have been transferred to the town council. It now belongs to the people, where it truly belongs. I've spent much of my life chasing success, often overlooking the things that truly matter. Working alongside you has reminded me of the importance of community, of roots, and the quiet strength that comes from service. For that, I owe you more than I can put into words. I have faith in what you've built here, Jennifer. The legacy you've created will endure, not simply because of the clinic, but because of the spirit you've nurtured in this town. You've shown us all, including myself, that even the smallest actions can send ripples through the world and create lasting change. Although I'll be leaving Terringham, I won't forget what I've learned here. Thank you for showing me that life holds more meaning than the things I once thought mattered most. With sincere gratitude, Nicholas." Jennifer read the letter twice, the weight of his words settling over her, each sentence stirring a complex mix of emotions. A wave of sadness washed over her as she realized Nicholas would be leaving, but it was paired with profound gratitude for the role he had played in her journey. His words were a testament to how far they had both come, not just in the work they had done together, but in their growth as individuals and as partners in this effort. She folded the letter carefully, placing it in her desk drawer, her mind lingering on the impact Nicholas had made, not just with his financial contributions, but with his unwavering belief in her and in Terringham. It had been more than just a project to him. It had been a shared vision, a shared belief in the power of community and the enduring strength of small, meaningful actions. That afternoon, Jennifer wandered along the trails Nicholas had safeguarded. The paths meandered softly through the trees, their leaves filtered with warm sunlight. Families strolled leisurely, the laughter of children resonating through the quiet woods. She passed by a community garden where volunteers worked the earth with care, tending to neatly arranged rows of vegetables and blossoms. The fruits of their labor stood as a testament to what could be achieved when a community came together, united by a shared sense of purpose and hope. Jennifer paused for a moment, taking in the vibrant scene before her. A deep sense of gratitude washed over her, not only for the transformations in Terringham, but for the journey that had brought her here. The lessons of compassion, perseverance, and quiet strength had shaped her, and they would continue to guide her forward. As she turned back toward the clinic, Jennifer found herself smiling. The future, while uncertain, no longer seemed daunting. For the first time, she felt prepared to meet whatever lay ahead. Terringham was flourishing, and so was she. At the top of a gentle hill, Jennifer paused to catch her breath. The breathtaking view stretched before her. The town, the clinic, and the preserved land, all bathed in the soft embrace of the afternoon sun. She described it to a friend as the vision of something different from the chatter of her daily life. This panorama spoke of resilience and renewal, It was a landscape of hope, a place that had found its strength again. Jennifer thought of Nicholas, of the quiet determination he had shown in supporting her dream, asking nothing in return. His influence, subtle yet powerful, would remain a part of Trainingham's story, even as he moved on to the next chapter of his life. A voice called out from behind, and Jennifer turned to see Mrs. Cady slowly approaching the trail. With a cane in hand but a bright smile on her face, the elderly woman's steps were steady and sure. "Jennifer," she greeted warmly, "I had a feeling I'd find you here." Jennifer assisted Mrs. Cady to a bench perched at the hilltop, where they sat side by side in companionable silence, savoring the stillness for a moment. "You've done something extraordinary," Mrs. Cady said after a pause, her voice thick with pride. "The town hasn't felt this alive in years, and that's because of you." Jennifer shook her head gently, her gaze soft. "It's because of all of us," she replied. "Tyringham always had the strength within it. It just needed a little help to remember that." Mrs. Cady patted her hand affectionately. "Perhaps. But sometimes it takes one person to remind everyone else of what's possible, and that person was you." Jennifer smiled, her heart full. The words resonated deeply within her, as if everything she had hoped for had come full circle. As the evening approached, the sky shifted into a breathtaking canvas of golds and soft pinks, casting a serene glow over the landscape. Jennifer felt an overwhelming sense of calm wash over her. The path she had walked had been long and filled with obstacles, but it had led her to a place of clarity and belonging. Tyringham had found its new beginning, and so had Jennifer. For the first time in years, she felt truly at peace, not just with the town she had helped to restore, but with herself. Sitting there, taking in the sight of the town she had worked so hard to rebuild, she realized that the future was full of promise. It wasn't just about the tangible accomplishments. It was about the resilience, the community spirit, and the unwavering hope that would propel them forward. If you enjoy Jennifer's journey of resilience and community transformation in Tyringham, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to share this video with your friends and family. Let's spread the message of hope and the power of working together for a brighter future. Jennifer's story is a powerful reminder that true change starts with individuals who care enough to make a difference. From the creation of the Tyringham Clinic to the preservation of the town's land, Jennifer's efforts didn't just rebuild a physical space, but rekindled a sense of unity and purpose within the community. With the support of dedicated allies, including the quietly generous Nicholas and the entire town, Jennifer showed how perseverance, compassion, and a strong sense of community can heal and restore even the most fragile of places. As the story unfolds, we witness how one person's vision, backed by the collective strength of a community, can spark a lasting transformation. Jennifer's journey is about more than just overcoming obstacles. It's about discovering one's true purpose and embracing the power of hope and connection. Now, we'd love to hear your thoughts on this heartwarming journey. What moment stood out to you the most? How does Jennifer's story resonate with your own experiences? Leave a comment below to share your reflections. We look forward to hearing from you and continuing this conversation. Remember, together we can create change, no matter how big or small. Thank you for watching, and stay inspired.